All right. I think we are going live. We are indeed. Hello, everyone. LinkedIn doesn't allow going live more than 15 minutes early. I think I might have pressed the button 1 second early. Maybe. I don't know. It looks like I'm live. I'm getting a counter over here, so that's good. Welcome, everyone, to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This edition is for coaches. Let me say hello right away to Patty Blakesley and Sue Mathiasen. Am I always pronouncing that right? Matthiasen or Madison? Tell me, I always just say Sue.
Matheson.
Mattison. Okay, because I see the I and the E. And I've always just like got confused in my own dyslexic mind and just said Sue. But anyway, welcome. It's great to see you. And I'm laughing at myself that I've been pronouncing your last name wrong in my head for about 7 years. Anyway, here we go. Get a Clue in 52. This is the For Coaches edition, myself included. By now, you know that Get a Clue in 52, it's a series of tips books. It started back in 2019 when I wrote this original edition. And it, embarrassingly, when I read one tip every single week on Sunday night out of it and streamed it into my social media channels, I found all the mistakes in it and all the embarrassments, including like spelling my own name wrong, I think, at one point. So we're done with that version. Get rid of that. We cleaned it up. And we made this version, the second edition of Get a Clue in 52. But what I want you to know is the 5 categories for this book were communication, marketing, sales, networking, and accountability. So around 10 tips in each category, which, 52 gives me a year's worth. And it's a legitimate and fun reason to be online once a week and get out content out, repurposed and streamed to social media channels. So this was cool. Then a client of mine was working on a book as well, and I was proud to consult with him and help him and guide him a little bit on getting his tips book created. This is Give Your Way to the Top. So it was a tips book as well. He read his tips on Tuesday nights and streamed into his social media channel. And then I got done reading my tips and he got done reading his tips. And then we looked around and said, well, what are we going to do next? And I said, well, why don't we do another Get a Clue in 52? But let's do an entrepreneur version so we can co-author it. And that's what we did. We wrote this essentially the same book, but we wrote one version where I was the lead. It was my voice. And I wrote another version where it was his voice. And we co-produced in each of our branding. And last year in 2022, we would get on Tuesday night, and from 8 to 8:30, we would read a tip and stream it into my social media. And then from 8:30 to 9, we would get on and read the tip and stream it into his social media. So it was a real wonderful collaboration, co-branded, co-marketed, co-produced, co-sustained, on and on and on and on and on. And then somewhere along the way, I came out with this little thing called the Integrity Game. But this live stream has nothing to do with the Integrity Game. But the Integrity Game is being played all around me right now. We just got done celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Integrity Game being released last year. I'm super proud of it. But when I got to the end of last year, it was time to write another Get a Clue in 52. And I asked myself, what kind of a Get a Clue in 52 do you want to write this time? And it dawned on me that I wanted to write one for coaches, myself included. I'm at a stage in my career where I've achieved a lot through the skill sets and the practice of coaching. And it's taken me around the world. And, all told, with the Integrity Game, got me back on campus at San Diego State. And I'm just really enjoying where I'm at in life right now. I'm set up really well. There's a lot of full circle things happening. And it's time for me to just be giving back. So last year, I volunteered to be on the board of directors of California Coaches. And this year, I'm vice president of communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance. I'm dedicated to not only helping like students at San Diego State University, the college level seniors that I'm teaching, go get into life and manage their careers and succeed in organizations, etc., but aspiring and emerging coaches. I want to be here for you. But my affiliation with the Professional Coaches Alliance, also, I want to learn with and from people that have been there, done that better, longer, more efficient, more optimized than I have. Shout out to guys like Ken Foster, for example, who I think was the founder of Professional Coaches Alliance, who I look up to in his career and the things that he's doing. So I'm in the vibration of giving back. And what's interesting about this edition of Get a Clue in 52 is I started off writing it thinking, I have something to give to aspiring and emerging coaches. And boy, can I tell you, there's a lot of therapy. There's a lot of coaching of myself in here. By the time we get to the end of the book and the last 12 tips, you're going to see some of the real deal struggles that coaches go through as they're trying to build their practice, build a coaching business, etc. So the 5 categories in Get a Clue in 52 are kind of organized chronologically, if you will. The first category, and we're done with it. We already, this is tip number 15 today, but we had 11 tips in the category of self-promotion. We have to promote ourselves. We have to become a coach and understand and embrace the identity of coaching. And then we have to promote ourselves as a coach, but we got to be careful about doing that because we're always more than a coach. And we really want other ways to solve problems for people. And all of those tips. And I can go through them really quick. Let's see. Margot's trying to come on, but it says device is not connected. Margot, I don't know if you can hear me out there, but it says I see you, but it's not letting me let you into the room. So keep trying, Margot, if you're out there. So let me just say before I get into content. Oh, wait, here we go. Excellent. All right. So Margot's coming on now. Excellent. Cool. Good
Morning.
to see you, Margot. All right. Excellent. So here we go. All right. Hey, cheers. Ding. All right. So I'm still doing introductory remarks, and I'm introducing the chronological categories, right? It starts with self-promotion, and then after we promote, then we're going to get prospects, right? Then we have the opportunity to enroll people in coaching. Once they're enrolled, then we got to motivate them, hold them accountable, right? All the while, we got to build our practice. So those are the 5 categories of this book. We're done with the 11 tips in self-promotion, and we're in the category of engagement right now. So let me just quickly get us to today's tip as quickly as I possibly can. Patty, you have permission to, wave or make a noise if I'm going down a rabbit hole tangent. You have permission to cut me off at any point so I can get through this review. But I can't go a step further without saying that the book and everything I do in my life is dedicated to my wife and kids. Woo! Let me take a deep breath. I'm a very lucky dude, like a very, very, very lucky man. Okay. Woo! Okay, let me get past that. Thank you to Troy Hoffman, founder of Simplurus. He's a fractional founder now, and he's making waves, right? So look up Troy Hoffman and see the lives that he's doing every week and pay attention to what he's all about, man. That guy has forgotten more about personal and professional growth than most people have ever learned. And so the fact that he took the time to, like in the middle of the night, no less, to write the foreword for Get a Klu at 52, I will always be grateful to Troy Hoffman, not just for writing the foreword, but just like what a great dude on this planet, man. If you're anywhere near Troy Hoffman and get around his energy, you just want to be a better person. You just want to go find a brick wall and run through it. The guy's super special. All right. So let's do a quick review of these tips. Tip number 1 in self-promotion, start calling yourself a coach. Then tip number 2 was only call yourself a coach when. Tip number 3 was don't just call yourself a coach. And we had some Kluby snacks that we were able to highlight to what I say, Kluba dive on these tips a little bit, go deep diving, right? The thought leadership that I try to coin phrases. I'm just leaving this Kluby snack on the board just a little bit longer so you could read it. Okay, now that you've read it, we're going to move on. All right. Then stop calling yourself a coach. Say coaching is on my menu, but I've got all these other things on my menu because I'm a solution provider, not just a coach. Okay, I'm not going to go on a tangent, Patty. Kluby snack, we're always more than a coach. Tip number 5 from self-promotion was get super honest about your why, because we all want to earn money either in replace of or in addition to the way that we always earn money. We want to earn money from coaching. We deserve to earn money from coaching. We become a coach either because we want to on and on and on. I've mentioned this every week. I'm not going to belabor it. And we want meaningful work. It's not just money that we want. We want meaningful work. But if it's meaningful, then it deserves to be compensated, right? My heart goes out to all the teachers in the land that are not fairly compensated for what they do. Not just professors. I'm talking about teachers, the babysitters, right? The ones that have to, on and on and on. It's such meaningful work, but they aren't compensated fairly. And then never mind. I'm not going to go on any tangents. Patty, I'm surprised you didn't cut me off. Get super confident about your what. We must welcome the transition from self-promotion to solution promotion. Get professionally intimate with your who. F your how. I mean, forget your how, right? So benefits, not features. If anybody understands anything about self-promoting, you really ultimately aren't promoting yourself. You're promoting the solution that you can provide and how people are going to feel after you solve their problems. Okay. Tip number 9 is understand these 7 reversible questions, like reversible, like a jacket. Like I'm wearing my vest this way, it's blue. I'm going to turn it inside out. Now I'm wearing it, it's red. Okay. You have 7 questions that we've laid down that you want to be really masterful at asking people. And you also want to make sure that you're ready if asked those 7 questions. You want to know what your answers are. The reversible networking questions, super, super powerful. Tip number 10, I know of no other way to promote yourself than public speaking. Although Patty Sue, I think you guys know I've been in some rooms and seen people on some stages. People have paid a lot of money to be on stages, and they failed miserably. They paid a lot of money to be on stages, and then they forget what they want to say, or they blank out, or they freeze, or whatever. Right? So it's not the public speaking that we're afraid of. It's preparing to speak. It's prepare to speak your way to success. If you prepare well, then public speaking is awesome. But if you just try to pay your way onto a stage and you don't do the preparation, it could fail. All right, next. Little pink spoons. This is the last tip in the self-promotion. I know through my academic background and in my studies of diffusion of innovations research that a new idea, product, service, innovation is more likely to be adopted if we can provide a risk-free trial. And you're not providing a risk-free trial of accountability coaching if there isn't 2 scoops. Right? 2 pink spoons, right? Well, anyway, or if you give a pink spoon of Rocky Road, there better be marshmallows, walnuts, and chocolate chips in that sample, or else I'm not really sampling it, am I? Right? And then it's hard to transition to an enrollment conversation when you're trying to get somebody to commit to something that they don't know what it really is. So make sure you're thorough in providing your trialability. Make sure you're thorough in providing the risk-free sample. Make sure it's a thorough sample, so thorough that they understand what it is, but it doesn't do everything. A lot of coaches get into the habit of trying to coach everything that moves. And like, I'll be the coach on the session. Let me coach the problem. And now you're in the problem with the person and you haven't set up the boundary for an enrollment conversation, the context for enrollment. So it's got to be a sample. There's got to be a boundary. Baskin Robbins doesn't give out free pints. They give little pink spoons, right? And if they did, I wouldn't be, anyway, I have an ice cream problem. Patty, Sue, ask me what's my favorite ice cream.
The one you're eating?
You know the answer. You've heard that joke before. Yeah, my favorite ice cream is whatever ice cream I'm eating. I have an ice cream problem. Hello, my name is Jeff. I'm a recovering ice creamaholic.
Okay, now you're getting onto tangent.
Thank you. See, give them permission, and thank you. I haven't had any ice cream this year, though. I've had 1 milkshake, but no ice cream. All right. So those are the 11 tips there, and then we get into this new section, right, where we have 9 tips in the engagement enrollment. That's where we are now. So let's cover those. We're out of self-promotion now, and now we've got prospects. Right now it's time to actually get out of, hey, this could happen. Now somebody's in a conversation with us, or they're in the complimentary session, or it's time to serve a pink spoon, right? Does this make sense? That's the context of all of this now. So within that context, tip number 12 is mentally understand, right? We're getting ready to try to reel the fish in, so to speak, or land a prospect, get a client, secure engagement, secure enrollment. So you can't build a mansion on top of quicksand. Oh, hello.
Sorry.
Right. Take a message, tell them I'm busy. I'll call them back. Okay. My point is this: we can't build a mansion on top of quicksand. So we're getting out of, hey, I'm excited about being a coach and I know what I can do and this is great and check it out. And you really need to be interested in this because it's amazing. Like, now I got to deliver. Now I got to give a sample. You have to get your mind right first. And so that's what this tip number 12 is all about, is we have to understand and we have to balance this challenge that we as coaches want to help people. And if we don't tell ourselves that we need to help ourselves too, the whole thing could be jumbled. Anything out of integrity threatens everything else to be out, or invites everything else to be out of integrity as well. So we have to be clear that we're doing a sample for the purpose of moving somebody towards a decision to enroll. We have to be clear about that. And that's what and by the way, the dilemma is, it's not about us, it's about the client. But it's like, oh, am I doing it right? Am I running the session? Am I providing value? Do they like me? And all of that stuff, right? But it's not about us. You got to be willing to make mistakes. You got to be confident as all can be. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but you have to be super confident you're going to help the person, and you have to be 100% committed to them. But at the same time, it is all about us, because if we don't enroll clients, if we don't get money for coaching, we're not going to have a coaching business, and we're going to go back to waiting tables or whatever it is, right? So let me ask you a question real quick, Margot. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the number that represents how desperately you want to get back into corporate? Okay, I digress. Right, that's what waiting tables or whatever. That's what I meant, right? We become coaches because we're still vital. We become coaches because we have value to give, but we want to make money in a new way, or in addition to the old way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So then this tip about setting expectations, right? Understand, hey, it is all about me, because I need to be focused on what I'm doing here. I need to be focused on enrolling this person in coaching or helping them make an enrollment decision. So I have to set that expectation. I have to say, hey, guess what? We're going to do 1 complimentary session. And if you like it, we're going to do a second one. And at the end of the second session, after 2.5 hours of complimentary coaching, you will have tasted motivation. You will have tasted accountability. And then you'll be able to decide if you want me to be your coach. Is that okay? What's wrong with setting that expectation? What's wrong with telling them at the end of the 2.5 hours, you're going to be asked I'm going to ask you if you want me to be your coach?
Yeah.
It's really important. It sounds simple, but it's heavy because you know how many coaches avoid that question, right? And anyway, so you set the expectation. You deliver 2.5 hours of complimentary coaching. You deserve to ask the question, right? But after 2.5 hours, you may even decide that, wait, you don't need coaching. You just need an online training course. You don't need coaching. You just need a pat on the back. You don't need coaching. You need a shrink. You don't need coaching. You need coaches training. You don't need coaching. You just need to read a book, right? So we want to take the time to really understand, and I'm not into sales right now. The sales isn't a part of this, and we may get there, but just to preview, I have a theory that if I know for a fact that somebody's going to benefit from what I'm doing and they're going to get more value out of it than what they're paying into it, shame on me if I don't pitch.
Yeah.
Shame on me, because they need it, and they're going to go down the street and get the problem solved by somebody that's not as good as me. No way. But at the same time, if I haven't done the real work of getting to know somebody, figuring out what really is going on for them, really being honest about whether or not I can handle it and take care of it, and really arriving at the belief, as sure as I am that the sun will rise tomorrow, that I can help. If I haven't done the work to get as certain as I am about the sun rising tomorrow, like gravity working, if I don't get to that place in certainty and then I'm pitching without being at that place, shame on me. If I pitch before I've arrived at that place, shame on me. And if I've arrived at that place and I don't pitch, shame on me. It's all about me, and it's not about me at all. It's all about helping. It's the integration. Are you guys understanding what I'm getting at? That's the mindset piece. And so we have to set these expectations, all of them. And then last week, we talked about building authentic rapport in a 3-step process that I have crafted, if you will, and refined. That is literally, if you do it genuinely, you do it honestly, and you don't mess around with it. You're really honest about what you're doing and following the 3-step process. There's no way to get anywhere other than real, genuine rapport with the person that you're talking to. And that's really important, because as we're going to find out, as we're going to move on, and what today's tip is all about, you want good rapport. Why? Because you're about to ask tougher questions, right? The 2 questions that we talked about last week were, one, first of all, you invite their questions, all of their questions. You keep on saying, do you have anything else you want to ask me? Anything else? You want to be transparent, right? Ask me anything. And there's all kinds of reasons why that's valuable that I get into in my coaching and leadership training or my group mentoring. But just understand, as a step, you want to invite all of their questions first. Then when it's time for you to start asking questions, the 2 that I coach on are, number 1, what would you normally share when you decide you're going to let anybody get to know you? And then number 2, what do you feel is important for me to know as your coach? Those are the only 2 questions that I teach, but I coach around the importance of it, the linguistics of it, the give and take of it, how to ask follow-up questions, what to be listening for, on and on and on and on and on. But very simply, those are the 2 questions. And what you want to do, and then ultimately the 3rd step, of course, is after you've listened to everything that you're listening to, everything that comes out with these 2 anchor questions, now you're in a position to be a raving fan of this person. You are listening, among all the things you're listening for, one of them is what you love, like, admire, respect, appreciate about the person. Because before you move forward to a more difficult conversation, which is what we're going to do today, before you move forward, you want to make sure that they see that you see their strengths, their beauty, their gifts, their best foot that they're going to have to put forward in the face of any change. Because if they don't want to change behavior, they don't want coaching. Coaching is not the solution if behavioral change isn't on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're going to start to get into this area in the complementary coaching process where we're letting them know this is about you changing your behavior, but we don't want to just smack them up front with that because they'll go running. So we want to take the time to build a good rapport to make sure they know that we hear them, we feel them, we understand them, and we want to exhaust it. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Anything at all? No, I think I've asked you everything. Okay. Is there anything else you would normally share with anybody, or anything you feel is important for me to know as your coach? No, I think you got it. Oh, okay. Well, what I love about you is, and I say that because, and tell me more about that. Oh, now you've got rapport. And don't go here without genuine, deep, authentic rapport. And finally, we are here, 19 minutes in. Patty, that wasn't too bad. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're here. Tip number 15 is scissor sharpening. So let me go ahead and oh my God, I have a book that I can read from. That's weird. I was just going. Isn't it weird how much of this is off the top of my head, you guys? Have you picked up on that? Okay. I just noticed myself. Here we go. Page 66. You guys ready to rock and roll with me? Tip number 15, scissor sharpening. Reminding you of my chronological approach to organizing these tips, let's reset that you have self-promoted effectively enough to offer a risk-free sample of your coaching. In doing so, you have set expectations for the session and have begun the session with a deep commitment to building authentic rapport. I will go ahead and ask questions to confirm that I'm in rapport with the prospect because I do not want to engage in tip number 15 without a sense that the prospect feels that I get them. I will even ask, does it seem like I understand? Do you feel like I get it in terms of who you are and how you got here? Do you feel like we're in rapport now? Isn't it funny? Just ask. Do you feel like we're in rapport now? Hey, are we in rapport? Is there anything else you would normally share or feel is important for me to know as your coach before we move forward then? And if you say, no, I'm ready to move forward, right? And keep in mind, you're getting permission at every stage of this process. You always want to get permission to move forward every step of the way. Do you see Margot nodding her head like this? If I'm getting permission from Margot for 60 minutes or 59 minutes, all of a sudden, if I say, Margot, if Margot's doing this for 59 minutes, if I say, Margot, do you want me to be your coach? It's going to be really hard for Margot to go. Anyway, all right. Tip number 15 is so important to the experience of sample coaching that it is critical not only to confirm that you are in rapport, but also to get permission to move forward to the next phase of the session. I will even go out of my, it's kind of funny, like I'm doing this ad lib and it's right here in the book. It's almost like I've memorized this book word for word, but it's not. This stuff is just in me. You guys understand? But let me keep reading word for word. I'm entertaining myself. I hope you guys are having fun. But also to get permission to move forward to the next phase of the session. I will even go out of my way to set the expectation that the questions are about to get tougher. And that may sound like this. It was important just now to let you know how courageous, or whatever the compliment was, I think you are, because we need to be aware of your strengths in the face of any changes you are committed to making. There will be times when you are challenged, and we need to know the strengths you can lean on when faced with the need to be disciplined or make sacrifices to change. That said, the next question is going to be a little bit tougher. Are you ready? All right. Ready? Okay. Anyway, so I'm going back to talking to the reader of the book now out of the role play. Ready? Okay. Tip number 15 is simply to ask the prospect what needs to be different. Oh my God. After all of that, after 22 minutes, really? That's it? Just ask the prospect what needs to be different? You can't just ask the prospect what needs to be different without doing all of this work first. Prospects never get asked what needs to be different. You're the only person in their life that's going to ask them. They're not ready for the question. We need to help. And I'm probably going to elaborate on that as we continue. Here we go. Seems simple, but I quickly learned how difficult and foreign this question is for most people. What are the three most important things in your blank? Insert blank here. Life, career, business, teams, project, culture, etc. What are the most important things in your blank that need to be different than they are right now? I started coaching way back in 2007 when most sessions were done by phone. I couldn't even see the prospects' faces. Still, I could literally hear a deer in the headlights through the phone when I would ask, what are the three most important things that need to be different? For most people, the question, what needs to be different, is a bit stunning or paralyzing because most people will never ask them that. More important, the brain will automatically try to answer any question it hears and will also automatically try to protect the ego, sense of self. So there's a real-time mental conflict provoked, and it is predictable that prospects will struggle and stumble with this question. Now, in my preparation for today's reading, I marked the next sentence out as a Kluby snack. So when I open it up to conversation in your comments, guys, I'm going to type the following Kluby snack into the thing and make it a banner so it comes up. Isn't this fun? But here we go. Here's the Kluby snack. Very rarely does someone simply give three answers with succinct labels that will allow for workability towards solutions. So, hey, what are the three most important things, most critical, crucial, urgent, most pleasure you need to seek, most pain you need to get away from? What are the three most important things? Oh, boom, boom, and boom. Never. Very rarely. It's happened. I've had it before. I'm not going to say never, but I say very rarely does someone simply give three answers with succinct labels that will allow for workability towards solutions. You guys know, and I know as well, what do most people do? They tell stories. They go into story. Well, this, not, so is it this? Is it that? And we got to Rein it in, right? You guys know what I'm saying. And then here's Kluby snackable as well. Are you guys ready? Usually there's a whole lot of story and explanation and rationale and sugarcoating, dancing, dust, smoke, and mirrors. And here's another Kluby snack, in my opinion. You tell me if you agree. Most coaches know they will need to peel back layers of the onion to get to the heart of matters. And this tip is to make 4 careful slices into the onion before trying to peel it. Oh, I love you. Oh, your faces tell me everything I need to know. I came up with this tip back in 2007, to literally create a partition in the mind of the prospect so they can actually access answers to this critical question. I break the word different down into 4 forms of different, which I found really helps prospects narrow their thoughts to something we can label together and then work with for the rest of the sample session. The 4 forms are change, improve, create, and remove. As an acronym, it's C.I.C.R. C.I.C.R. So this tip is scissor sharpening. Change. Don't get caught in the semantics. I'll tell you how I'm using these words, because all words are ambiguous and they can be used interchangeably. These are 4 forms of different. Like, again, if this part of my hand is different, there's change, improve, create, and remove right there. Okay. So change. This form of different refers to the things in our world, life, career, business, etc., that are permanently there but do not look, work, act, perform, etc. good. These are things that we cannot get rid of, will not change on their own. That's a typo. Will not change on their own, and unchanged will remain a source of negativity in our lives. It should be there, not. Let me just make that note. I'm scribbling up my books in case we polish it and do a 2.0 on this. You guys get that? So change means in your life, but not working. Not going to change itself. You need to change it. Improve. This form of different refers to the things in our world, life, career, business, etc., that do look, work, act, perform good. And it would be great to get more of that. And I always joke around, like my wife and I, we had 2 kids, 1 boy, 1 girl. It was great. More of that, please. Now we have a 3rd kid and brain damage and zone defense and all the other stuff. Okay, I digress. Hey, Brody's the best. He checkmated me last night, like bad. Like I felt like really, really, really overwhelmed and dominated by the 10-year-old, the way he just took my rook like on the 3rd move of the game. And just, it was, guy's genius, Brody. Okay. And he's in the house right now on spring break and on and on and on. All right. And by the way, Brody, I'll explain the brain damage comment to you. It's not about you. It's about you guys are so brilliant. It's hard for mom and dad to keep up with your guys' genius. I'll explain that more to you later. Okay, here we go. Kids are listening to everything, even when you think they're not. It's great, great, great. So change is stuff in your life that's not working. It's not going to change on its own. You need to change it, improve, increase, invest is the stuff that is working. So more of that, please. Like somebody once told me, if it feeds you, feed it. If it kills you, kill it. Pretty simple. Now create. This form of different refers to the things that are not in our world, life, career, business, etc., and we need to add them in. These are the missing things that are inviting more harm and pain if we continue to go without them. Could be a resource, could be a strategy, could be a belief, could be a coach, could be a group mentoring program, could be a membership in professional coach. It could be anything. Okay. Remove. This form of different refers to the things that are in our life, world, and may seem permanent, but can be eliminated and better be. These are the toxic things, the things that truths of the matter are embarrassing to admit and usually kept hidden from others until it is too late. These are the toxic things that you better get rid of. Change won't work. You need to get rid of that. Okay. So I love the fact that scissor sounds like the tool scissor, which we all know functions to cut. This is what, and by the way, here's another Kluby snack, right? This is what decisions do, by the way. Do you hear this sound in decision? Decisions make a cut in the present that separates our past from our future. Subconsciously, this is nerve-wracking for our prospect, which is why we wanted to get into rapport first before moving forward. I end this tip with the sub-tip I share with learners in my training and mentoring. Your job here is to get whatever the prospect wants different into a label, out of story and into a label name or even a phrase if necessary, but as close to one word as possible. Health, relationships, finance, adventure, legacy, education. Once you label something, you can work with it. So this tip is really all about getting to the label, name, identity of the 3 things coaching can help resolve for the prospect. Without this, the session is a rabbit hole. And then I repeated, I don't know why, just in the publishing of the book, the italicized version of the Klubi snack got either failed to get deleted or got reprinted. But this is what decisions do. They make a cut in the present that separates our past from our future. Do you realize this isn't just like, hey, so tell me what needs to be different? This is heavy for the prospect. They're making it. And by the way, once they make a decision, the universe knows now. So they're going to hem and haw and smoke and mirror and slip and slide and protect their ego and dance. And you got to stay the course and help them get to a label. So is it this or is it that? Oh, so is it income or is it finances? What do you mean? Well, income's the amount of money you're making. Finance is the decision you make with the money that you make. Oh. Peel the layers of the onion. Make these 4 slices. Welcome to scissor sharpening. I'm open for discussion. Thanks for tolerating that 30 minutes worth of stuff. It was fun for me. I hope it was good for you guys. Well, any comments or questions on scissor sharpening, tip number 15, or anything overall that we've covered today in Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included?
No, I like the metaphor of, slicing the onion in 4 pieces. I do use the peel back the onion metaphor myself, but I'm not as specific about, where I'm making the cuts or when I'm making them. I just sort of let the conversation flow. But I can see the value in having more of a framework for that, to not only speed the conversation, but to help the client get clarity in all aspects.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying there, because there's a value of organic. Just hold the space, right? So the framework, by the way, isn't necessarily to, and you didn't mean this way, so I'm not correcting you. I'm just calibrating. Speed. It's not to speed the conversation. It's to not let it go over time. The conversation could go as slow as it needs to go. It can go at its organic pace. Sometimes I don't get done with my 3 labels. I don't get my 3 labels to scissor, right? You know this, by the time I'm, all right, so we're talking about blank, blank, and blank. Is that right? And then I end up saying, is there anything as important or more important? They go, well, probably this. All right, well, is that as important as 1, 2, or 3, or would it be number 4 or worse? Okay, yeah, let's stick with 1, 2, 3. Okay, so by the time I have agreement, follow? That's the thing, agreement on the labels. We're talking about, I'm just going to use an example, health, relationships, and finance. Yeah, those are the 3. Okay. Sometimes I can get there in 12 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 42 minutes. Right? But I've got 90 to do everything I want to do. So I'm not trying to speed the conversation. I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't go over 90. And by the way, as I mentioned before, when I offer the 2 pink spoons, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Hey, budget 90 minutes for the first session. We may not need all 90, but I don't want either of us looking over our shoulder. Setting expectations, right? Hey, we budget 90 because you're going to get real coaching. I'm going to create the space for you to have all the time in the world that you need to ask me what you want and answer my questions. But by the end of the session, you are going to be offered a second session. And if you like to, on and on and on. So I just want to make sure anybody out there understands, I'm not trying to speed things along ever. What I'm trying to do is not let them go over time, which I've already budgeted an abnormal amount of time compared to most free coaching that's offered in the world.
Yeah, it's really about getting to clarity.
Bingo. Absolutely. 100%. Because a confused mind doesn't buy. We know that from the land of sales, right? And we shouldn't move forward and start coaching anything until we know that that's the thing. Does that make sense? So somebody that's too geared on making a sale is going to coach anything. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, hang on. Is that what it is? I hear what you're saying there, and I can see that would be the problem. But let me peel that back a little bit. Are you talking about this or this? Oh, yeah. And so what ends up happening with this patience and with this place, we're positioning ourselves as coaches to actually get a breakthrough. What's a breakthrough? It's when somebody can see, smell, taste, feel, define, explain, do something that they couldn't see, feel before. And they thought it's this, it's my boss, it's my boss, it's my boss, it's my this, it's my that. No, it's your addiction to stress, or it's an overwhelm, or it's your limiting belief, or it's your pattern, or it's maybe you'd feel differently if you quit smoking cigarettes and drinking Diet Coke. Maybe. Just quit for a week and maybe it's something other than all these people that you're blaming. Oh, I really need to do that. Whatever it is, right? So that's the partition. We also want to be, how should I say? Remember, before we want to be like know the prospect. Take time to really know who you're talking to. We talked about this in metaphor, be the animal, right? I don't like hunting metaphors, but you know what I'm saying? Be the animal, so I can be a better hunter. I'm not the best hunter by trying to be a hunter. I'm the best hunter by staying one step ahead of the animal, right? So I know that when I say what needs to be different, I know that there's going to be this dilemma in their head of posturing, ego defense, storytelling. I mean, I might trigger some emotions or whatever as I'm holding them to account for telling me what they need help with, right? Or us discovering it together in some way. I know there's going to be resistance. I know. So this is a framework that, and I said it early on. In 2007, I would ask the question, I would hear the deer in the headlights. So I thought, I need to do a better job moving my prospects to a place where they can give me an answer. And so I came up with this framework. What else? Comments or questions about tip number? Thank you, by the way, Margot. Comments or questions or anecdotes or shares on this concept of scissor sharpening, of asking people what needs to be different and getting it to a point where we have an agreement, a label, a name, a phrase for what it is, and the resistance that we're going to experience along the way, and why scissor sharpening is so important. Any comments or questions about that, or anything that you want to discuss in the 10 minutes that we've got left?
What I like about the acronym is by breaking it down into those 4 categories, it takes away, I guess, a perception that the prospect could take of if you're just asking what needs to be different, it would be easy to think, oh, I'm a failure, or nothing's right in my life. And by breaking it down, it actually helps to identify, if you look at the improved, that there's some good stuff there. It's about identifying that and working out the good stuff from what needs to be different, and giving the right emphasis to what needs to change.
Yeah, right. Emphasis. Well, that comes a little bit later on, right? I think we're, you're previewing, and you have the benefit of having gotten exposure to my training and the group mentoring, Sue. So you and Patty have a depth of understanding of this content that the public may not. And Margot, you're getting exposed to a lot of this stuff from my perspective. I mean, you have your own perspectives on it, so you're hearing a lot of stuff that you're familiar with, just the way I do it, right? And so that you're kind of foreshadowing a little bit, because first we got to get the label. And then, it's like, even though they think that the 3 most important, we still don't know how much it hurts. Yeah. Or how bad they want it. We still don't know the level of priority. So we're going to get to a place where we do want to get leverage, where we want to figure out, well, these are the things that need to be different, but are you willing to do, back to what I said, if you're not willing to change behavior, don't expect these to be different. That's insanity. We all know that. So we're going to figure out how bad, how much pain or how much pleasure it represents, so that we can know, right, if they're willing to be accountable.
But I think, I agree. But I think at least breaking it down, it's still like, if you're saying that there's things to improve, to get that label, it gives a sense of a willingness to engage in that process, because you're saying, hey, there is some good stuff there.
That last sentence again, what was right before the good stuff there?
I was just saying that by breaking it down, I believe it helps that engagement process, because it makes it easier to. Yeah,
that's the idea. A partition, right? It's easier for me to find clothes if I know the underwear's in one drawer, the pants are in another drawer, and the shirts are in another drawer. But if it's all there in a pile, it's hard for me to figure out what to wear today, right? So we're just trying to create a partition, like separate and help people. Oh. The other thing too, on subconsciously that it does, is it demonstrates our acumen, our expertise. It lets them know without saying it, like, hey, I'm your guide. I know, Frank. Trust me. Right. When I say what are the 3 most important things that need to be different, and you're freaked out because you can't come up with an answer, don't worry, I got you. Follow me right this way, please. Right. When I go into a stadium and like, where are my seats? Where are my seats? The show's about to start. Where are my seats? God, am I thrilled when I find an usher and I can show them the ticket stub and they can say, right this way to your seat, please. Oh, thank you. I thought I was going the wrong way. Oh, What else do we have on tip number 15, which is scissor sharpening? And again, this is in the context of complementary coaching, where we've gotten our mind right, we have built rapport, and now we're asking a tougher question. So we're making 4 careful slices into the onion so it's easier to peel back layers. Other comments or questions?
I like the way that you had the 4 sections of different on your hand. That was
right?
new to me. Yeah.
Yeah, different.
I like it a lot.
And then Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Cluey. I mean, I'm sorry, change, improve, create, or remove. Sorry.
But I was kind of going along with what Sue said about the improve, because what you're doing there as you talk about the what needs to improve is you're reinforcing what is working. And that helps people then. I believe it would help me. I think it helps my clients when we do this, is that they see that they are doing something well and what they can do to go forward.
Well, yeah, that's an important point. That's really important. If I didn't make it before, I think Sue, I think I heard this in your point, and Patty, I think you're re-emphasizing this, but that's part of the jam. Hey, coaching isn't about you suck and let's get better. Coaching is about you might be doing some stuff really well and let's do more of that. Right? Like you already run a mile in under 6 minutes. Let's get you under 5.5. Let's get you under 5:15. What is it going to take? What do you need to commit to? What are the strategies? What are the habits? What are on and on? So, coaching isn't for losers. Coaching's for winners.
Right.
And many winners come to coaching because they know winning tastes good and they want more of it. Right? So change, improve, create, or remove. But anybody that's won anything in life knows that they've had to make sacrifices in discipline and remove things from their life. I've had to ask my son, do you want to go dicking around with your friends or do you want to play baseball? Now he's found a way to incorporate both. He's got baseball and he's achieved his dreams. And he still he's found balance, right? But he was out of balance for a little while. And so no winner in life wins without making sacrifices. Nobody. So that's what we're all about. And remember, as coaches, they don't need coaching if they don't need behavioral change. And you don't just say, all right, change your behavior. Are you kidding? It doesn't, it's work for us. And that's why we better get paid. We better get paid. We better be compensated for this work that we're doing. What we're doing, and by the way, I say my way, the integrity game and get a clue and all the silliness and all the joviality. You guys, I'm realizing I've happened upon this, but I'm realizing if somebody says, Jeff, what's your mission in life? I could say, well, to make sure the world's playing the integrity game. Well, what the hell is that? Okay. Ask me again. Somebody asked me, what's your mission in life?
What's your mission in life, Jeff?
To make accountability non-threatening.
I like it. Yeah.
It likes you. It's mutual, Margot. Right? And so I would create a banner there, right? Let's make accountability non-threatening. So this process of C.I.C.R is after rapport, after we've told them what we love about them, is a non-threatening way to move them towards declaring what they are willing to be held accountable for. Not just what they're willing to be held accountable for, what they're willing to let us hold them accountable for. It's permission all the way. Permission, 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 permission. Understand, once they say what needs to be different, now what? Now the universe knows, now I know. And now they're either going to do something about it or they're not. Oh, shit. Excuse my language, right? But I'm trying to be thinking. I was trying to be funny, right? But it's like, gotcha. Now we can hold you accountable. Now I even tell them though. I say, hey, look, I don't care if your answers to these 3 most important things. I don't care if your answers change tomorrow. I don't care if hey Jeff, I was doing my homework on goal setting and I realized it's not 1, 2, and 3. It's actually A, B, and C. It's like, cool. Then let's work on A, B, and C. But what I am concerned about is every day that you don't know the 3 most important things, because then you're being blown around like a feather in the wind. You're a pawn in somebody else's game if you're not playing your own game. So when it comes to accountability, you can tell right now, you see my disposition, I'm hardcore, I'm intense, I'm willing to confront. I've got all of this intensity, this goal achievement, etc. But I prefer the joviality. I prefer the love. You guys understand? Let's make accountability non-threatening, but I'll do what I need to, but only with your permission. I'm not going to be intense with you unless I have your permission. I've made that mistake so many times where I hold somebody accountable to something I didn't get their permission for. Shame on me. I'm sorry. Let me apologize to any of you out there who I've confronted with something without your permission. Sorry. Coaching isn't what I do. It's who I am. Sorry. I hope you guys get to be yourselves 100% of the time too one day. All right, last call for comments and questions.
Well, I just want to add this comment. Just recently had a client. They chose what they needed to change, improve, and I held them accountable to it. And 2 sessions in, they realized those were not what they wanted to be held accountable to.
Yeah. Well, and now keep in mind, can you smell this? And they say, okay, great. That's awesome. Here's how it goes. Awesome that you have that clarity. Oftentimes we hold you accountable making a declaration, not because they're the things, but to get you on the way to figuring out what the things are. Maybe they're these, or maybe it's what you're about to tell me right now. So great. Those aren't the things. What are the things then?
Right.
And then they'll tell you what the things are. And if that pattern repeats itself again, say you don't need coaching, you need a shrink. Because if you're going to declare and then do the work and then quit and change it, and you're going to do that 1, 2, 3 times in a row, now you just don't want to be held accountable for anything, and I can't help you. So you need to go. I need to refer you to somebody else. Or you need to go talk to somebody else. Come back when you're ready to change behavior.
And oftentimes, if that happens with the client, I will address that. So it's really interesting to me that this happened here, and now I hear it happening again. Right. What do you think is going on?
Mm-hmm.
What do you know? How is it landing with you when I say that? When I hold that mirror up and just try and probe a little more, get curious around why they're doing that.
Yeah, let me preview because I'm actually a minute late to my next thing, but it's hard for me to tear myself away from you guys because I could do this all day. This is like one of my favorite things in the world. I get to be myself. But what I will say as a preview for things that are coming is in one word, get ready for it and look ahead in your book, leverage. We as coaches need to do a better job. We can't just say, oh, good, they told me 3 things. Okay, let's work on those. We have to go what I say cluba diving and go deeper to really figure out what is really at stake. And we have to make sure they're clear. We cannot let the answers to our scissor questions just be the surface thing that gets the person through this session. And so you're basically being paid to babysit them. Mm-hmm. We have to find out on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the number that represents and what will happen if you don't change this? And what does it cost you in the past? What is it? I got all kinds of coaching for you guys on this, but right. If somebody's moving this pattern, it's because we didn't do a good job getting leverage in the first place. We didn't anchor them to they would never even shift and go to the next thing if they were really truly associated to the real consequences of not addressing these things.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a preview for what's coming in the future. I can't tell you guys. I mean, I tell you all the time how much I love you, but I don't think I can tell you how much I love you. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining me on another edition of Get a Clue in 52. It's better when you guys are here. I love you. Thank you. Mwah. Love you guys. We'll see you.
Bye.